So I know you guys have seen me here before, but just in case you forgot, my name is Mr. Williams, CalTeach student from UC Merced, and I'm doing observations, and today we're going to work through a worksheet. All right, so let's go ahead and read the learning objective together. 1, 2, 3. We will determine when to use certain control structures in Python 3. It's important to learn this because control structures efficiently manage the complexity and repetitive code. All right. Who wants to read this aloud for us? Awesome, thank you. So, why are they useful? So, control structures constitute the basic blocks for decision-making processes in computing. They change the flow of programs and enable us to construct complex sets of instructions out of simpler building blocks. So we're going to take a look at a quick video here. That's going to give us a little bit of a introduction into control structures.
So I've got my essay written, and I've been working on it for about a week. So now I'm going to show you how I use Grammarly.
In this video, we are going to discuss about control structures. You must remember that any program or any solution need not run sequentially. It might execute few steps and then skip a few steps and then go to the next one. The programming elements, the programming structures that take care of this, implement this when we are coding are called the control structures. What control structures do? They take decisions about program flow based on given parameters. So some control, some decision is needed to be made based on a criteria that is given. Whether the program will go to the next step or it will skip a few steps and go to the another step. Control structures must be identified before any coding begins. Why? So that the coder is very clear that where he has to apply the coding structures. Algorithms and pseudocodes help in identifying where the control structures are required. These control structures are of three types: decision control, selection control, repetition or loop control. Let's look at these in detail. Decision control, it is used when the next step to be executed depends upon a criteria. I am saying, is the number greater than 3? That is a criteria. If yes, then do these steps. If no, then do these steps. That is a decision control. Example, if statement. Every programming language will have a if statement that will implement this control structure. Next is selection control. It is possible that the next step is decided upon the decision taken by the user. For example, you have given the user a menu of 10 items. If he selects 1, you have to follow these steps. If he selects 2, you have to follow these steps. If he selects 10, you have to follow these set of steps. So there the selection control structure is used. Example, switch statement, case statement. Depending on the programming language, you will have different name for that control structure. Repetition or loop control. Always there will be some set of instructions that have to be repeated again and again. There, the repetition control structure or the loop control structure is used because it is counterproductive if you have to write it so many times. Also, you will have to know beforehand how many times the statements have to repeat it. This is not actually the scenario. In a real life situation, the user might tell you how many times it has to be repeated. So, in that case, a loop control statement is used. Usually, it's a for statement, but it will depend upon the programming language that you are using. Let me show the flow chart for the statements. For decision or selection control, Boolean expression. If it is false, one set of instructions. If it is true, another set of instructions. Now see the difference here. In the repetition control structure, this is condition true. If it is true, these instructions will be repeated. You can see that it is going back to the condition. The condition is checked again. True, same set of instructions repeated. If it is false, then it will do some different set of instructions. So this is the control structure. Decision or selection and repetition. Selection and decision control structures are implemented similarly in a flowchart. This. You can see that we are using similar symbols. We will be discussing this later. Selection control is nothing but a series of decision statements taken sequentially. The way we are implementing the decision statement, the same way selection statement is also implemented. Let's take a few examples. Decision control, like I told you, if statement is there, marks is less than 10 and marks is greater than 9, then do this. Here the same thing, else if statement is being used. So this is the decision control. Selection control, here I am using the switch statement. Case 10, that means the user option is 10, or case 8, case 6. These are the different cases, and switch statement is used to put them together in one control structure. This is the repetition control structure. For counter is equal to 0, counter less than num, counter plus plus. What does this essentially mean? It essentially means that the numbers will be added till it reaches a value that has been entered by the user. So this for statement, within these braces you can see these four statements will be repeated again and again till the value entered by the user is reached. So this is how the control structures are implemented in a program. These control structures are decided based on the algorithms that the system analyst can come up with. In our next video, we are going to see how we can write algorithms.
You're smashed.
Alright, so what we're going to be doing is we're going to be
We're going to
creating
discuss about control structures.
we're going to be creating a flowchart similar to the one that she showed you guys in the video, but ours is going to look a little different. Go ahead and pass this out. Did I miss anyone? Everyone have? Yeah? Okay, perfect. And make sure you have something to write with, pen or pencil, doesn't matter, either one. Okay, so let's look at the first paragraph here on the worksheet. Who wants to read the discussion part for us? Any takers? Thank you. So today what we're going to be doing in the activity section says create a flowchart that diagrams which control structure should be used in each scenario. Make sure to fill in empty boxes with for loop, while loop, if statement, or if else statement. So this is the blank worksheet. And the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to create a box. And it's going to be on the left side, kind of in the middle of the paper. But you're going to want to leave room, because what we're going to do is we are going to branch this flowchart out this way up top. And then we're also going to branch it out this way underneath. So make a box that's not too big, but also is big enough where you can write a couple words or maybe a sentence inside of it. Okay, so from there, what we're going to do is we're going to draw 2 arrows. We're going to draw an arrow that says repeat, going up to the rest of our flow chart on the top, and then an arrow that says just once, and that's going to be our flow chart on the bottom. So we're going to start with the repeat section, and we're going to do a single box up top. Again, make sure there's enough room to at least write a couple words inside of the box. And then from there, we're going to write 2 more arrows. We're going to have one going upwards, and that's going to be yes a fixed number of times. And then on the bottom, we're going to have an arrow that says no. So for both of these arrows, we're going to connect them with boxes. And these can be smaller, since you probably don't have a lot of room on the side. But the yes and the no both get boxes. Okay. All right. Everyone good so far? Yeah? Okay. So now we're going to do the bottom section. So we're going to start off with just a single box. Same size as these other ones here. And then from this box, we're going to have 2 more arrows. So this time, we're going to have an up arrow that says no, just the condition is true. And then we're also going to have a down arrow that says yes. Okay. And then we're also going to follow that up with 2 more boxes. The same size as the 2 that you made up here. Okay. So now what we're going to do is we're going to begin to fill this out. So the first thing that we're going to do is these 3 boxes right here. These are questions that we ask ourselves. So we start with a question, and then these arrows are our answers, right? So our first question is, do I need to repeat multiple times or just once? And if you want to make it more concise, you can just say repeat multiple times / once, or you could write the whole thing. But the point is that the first question is going to be, do I need to repeat this, which is going to be the up arrow, or am I only doing this one time, which is the down arrow? Okay. So we're going to start like we did last time with the top portion. So the second question that we're going to ask is, do I know how many times to repeat? And again, if you want to be more concise with it, you can just write how many times or how many times / repeat, or you can just write the full thing. Do I know how many times to repeat? Perfect. I'm going to take this away for 1 second. So you don't need to write this down, but the 4 definitions that we're going to be working with here for the ends of this flowchart are for loop, while loop, if statement, and if else statement. So in this flowchart, if you must repeat and you know you need to repeat it a fixed number of times, that's going to be a for loop. If you must repeat and you don't know how many times, then that's going to be a while loop. If you only need to repeat it once, and you should only do it if the condition is true, that's going to be an if statement. And if you only need to repeat once, and you should do it if the condition is false, that's going to be an if else statement. So we'll go back to the flowchart. And so, do I know how many times to repeat? We saw in that definition that if it's yes, a fixed number of times, that's going to be a for loop. So in this box up here, it should be smaller than the other ones. This should be for loop. And then, as we saw in this definition, if you repeat and you don't know how many times that you're going to repeat, the answer is no, then that's going to be a while loop. So in this box, we're going to write while loop. Okay. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go back all the way back to the first question. Do I need to repeat multiple times or just once? So if we are repeating once, we know that it's going to be one of these two, right? Because if you only need to repeat once, it's going to be an if statement or it's going to be an if else statement. So if we are repeating this just once and just the condition is true, that's going to be our if statement. So then if we take a look back at our definitions, the if-else statement is you only need to repeat once, and you should do it if the condition is false. So if we go back here, do I need to repeat multiple times or just once? Just once. Should I do something if the condition is false? Yes. That's going to be our if-else statement. I'll leave this up for a second if you need to fix any of these other things or catch up a little bit. That's okay. So, for example, Let me take this away for 1 second. If we look at these definitions, right, we see that the first two are if you must repeat, and the second two are you only need to repeat once, right? And then from there, we get the second answer to the other questions. So if I were to say, do I need to repeat multiple times or just once? I said just once. And should I do something if the condition is false? And I say no, then that's our if statement. And in the same question, should I do something if the condition is false? Yes, that's our if else statement. So that's why these two are grouped together for the if and if else statement, because they both come from this question. And then that's also why these two are grouped together, because you have the for loop and the while loop, which both come from, do I know how many times I need to repeat? And all of this comes back from, do I need to repeat multiple times or just once? So this is the first question that you need to ask before you even get to which category of statements that you're going to be going to. We'll come over and just take a look at a couple charts. I'll leave up the chart for a minute. You need to write any more. Okay. All right. I'll give anyone that needs another minute just a couple seconds to write it down. Okay. Is there anyone that needs more time with this on the screen? No? Okay. So this flowchart is basically going to help you to determine whether or not you need to use a for loop or a while loop statement or an if statement, if else statement. So this flowchart is basically a way for you to ask yourself, okay, if I need to figure out which one that I need to use, then I need to ask this question, right? And then if this question is true or false, I need to ask this question. And you're basically just doing that until you get to the type of statement or type of control structure that you need to use. And that's basically the worksheet. So just go ahead and make sure that you submit your journal entry and write a paragraph about today's session. And also don't forget to mention the learning target with the worksheet.